Today, we celebrate victory in Europe, 75 years since the end of World War II in the European theater. Our Thom Racine had the chance to speak about this with Ken Heagle from the Royal Canadian Legion.
Well, thanks, Gabe. And it is my pleasure to welcome the 1st District Deputy Commander, District G, Ken Heagle from the Legion here in Cornwall, to Community Matters. And Ken, we're on an anniversary, a very important anniversary. And before we learn a little bit about that history, welcome to the show and thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Tom. My pleasure.
Victory in Europe Day, VE Day, May 8th. Tell us a little bit about the importance of that day and the anniversary, because it has a significant local flavor to it, doesn't it?
It does, because to have VE Day, which is Victory in Europe, we had to have D-Day, which a lot of our people from Cornwall and surrounding area had taken part in. The SDG Highlanders landed on the beaches in Normandy, so it is very important to understand that our people did take a big part, and so we should not forget. And this is one of the things that we have to remember what happens so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it's extremely important that all of us remember these important dates when it comes to remembrance. We think back and man, the years are putting it so far, in behind us. But it's just so important to never forget. And each and every year, significant dates come up. The Legion here in Cornwall does a great job at bringing the history and keeping the history alive. And of course, it's troubled times. How do you face that with the Legion situation today?
Right now, we're having a hard time trying to do anything to remember because of the fact that we can't get in our building and we can't get together. So it's making it hard. And I guess doing what you're doing is actually the only way that we can do it now. And we really appreciate that fact that people are still interested in remembering.
Well, a couple of years ago, your TV started covering the cenotaph ceremonies on Remembrance Day, and Sarah Lozo and I have been hosting it. And the two of us have found that hosting that show and that ceremony can be quite a humbling experience, especially when you start to research some of the stories and then correlate them to the local contribution. And how important, it's kind of a silly question because we both know it's important, but it is important to recognize the local people, and they're dwindling away by the wayside, aren't they?
We just had a World War II veteran that passed away a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately we couldn't do the ceremony that he had asked for, but he was on board one of the ships, the Saint Laurent, when they gave support to the landing party on Normandy beaches. And he's gone now, we've lost Walter Solly. He also a D-Day veteran. It's unbelievable the number of World War II veterans that we're losing now, and we're running out of them.
Yeah, and that's goes part to the Legion too, with your membership. Most service clubs over the years have opened up membership to the general public because, in the beginning you always had lots of members, but now you open it up, and the Legion is one of those places that certainly caters to the community.
Yeah, and this is the whole thing. Now that we have the associate members, which is family members of veterans, it allows us to keep honoring the veterans and serving the veterans. We still have to serve those veterans, and with our Poppy Fund, we do. So it's important we keep the Legion going. We are close to 700 members, so we're not exactly dwindling, but we are still looking, it's always good to support the veteran, and that's the only way we can do it is if we stay in operation, I guess.
So the anniversary, May the 8th, Victory in Europe Day. I remember as a young boy learning about D-Day and VE Day, and then there seemed to be a a bit of a lull or a drop off with some of the knowledge of some of our young people in time, where you would ask them what is D-Day or what is VE Day, and a lot of them didn't know. That has really come full circle with a lot of our younger people, and especially with the education in schools. That must make you very proud to know that that is happening again.
It is, and I've said that before, and I have to be politically correct, but we have to teach our young people in schools exactly what happened. This idea of offending people, I don't think we should look at that. We can't change history, but let's make sure history don't repeat itself.
Yeah, and then you with the two world wars, you go into the Korean conflict, and they've done a great job as recognizing Korea as well.
Exactly. It's time that we do. I don't know if you're aware, but we had a visit in 2019 and 2015 and 2019 from some people from France. And it's amazing how these young people honor our veterans for what they done when they liberated France. We weren't there. We don't know what it was like to be liberated, but these young people are taught by their parents every day. So it's something that we have to start doing as well.
Yeah, I know in the Netherlands, in Holland, it's extremely important to the young kids that are taken from their classes, and they actually mine the cemeteries in Holland, and they'll plant the Canadian flags in the cemeteries on Remembrance Day and on significant dates. So yeah, it certainly has never been forgotten, and likely never will be forgotten in Europe for the liberation.
That's right. And it's important that we try to do the same as much as we can. Our memorial park has the tulips that was given to them by.
They're beautiful. I went by the other day and all their brilliance.
Unfortunately, we can't do the ceremony like we used to, but we can still go by and admire and realize why they're there.
Yeah, and it really looks good. The cenotaph always looks good, and it's kudos to you and at the Legion, and of course the city for taking care of that beautiful place in town. So, Ken, I really want to thank you for doing this to help remember a solemn anniversary, VE Day, Victory in Europe, and thanks again.
It was my pleasure anytime, Tom.